Hi, everyone, and welcome to another episode of our SAP podcast, Demystifying SAP S4HANA. I'm Faisal, SAP consultant at PwC.
And I'm Thorsten Hübsch, partner at PwC and leading the SAP practice in Belgium and the European Center of Excellence for SAP Strategy.
Hello, Thorsten. Welcome back. How are you?
I'm doing fine, Faisal. How about you? It was quite a fuss after our last anniversary session. A lot of people were coming back to us.
Yes, indeed. We received a lot of feedback, and we love to hear what you hear about our episodes. So keep on doing this. Thank you, my dear listeners. But let's talk about something else today, about Rise. Rise with SAP S4HANA as stated by SAP. Can you summarize maybe what Rise actually is, Thorsten?
Yeah, actually, there's a lot of confusion about Rise, but it's basically pretty quickly summarized. Rise is a contractual model, basically summarizing or combining a lot of elements that SAP customers in the past have purchased from different parties, and now basically you contract one party, which is SAP, which includes the hosting of your system, the usage rights itself, but also maintenance and basis support services. Next to that, Rise is a subscription model. So whatever you are then paying, it is not anymore a CapEx investment, but it's an OpEx investment, or it's an OpEx cost, not investment, OpEx cost that is directly going into your books. Rise comes with a reference architecture, which is quite powerful. Because no one knows better how to set up an SAP system and structure it and put it in place than SAP itself. So you have a set of systems and settings, including Fiori front-end servers, performance management, etc. That's all following a reference framework. The same is true also for the security part. So all of that is put in place from the start. You don't have to worry about that anymore. Of course, you have to be aware of the things. We come later to that again. And then also aspects like disaster recovery is something that you are purchasing just as an additional service, quite cost-intense service. But also this is just part of it where you can activate that. And it also, and this is something that many people do not know, we might have a common understanding of the end of the maintenance of the SAP ERP system, which is in 2027, 2030, depending. But you have the possibility to have a longer maintenance of the SAP ERP if you are on a Rise platform with your legacy ERP. Of course, the prerequisite is that you have that system then on HANA, so you cannot move with another database underneath your SAP ERP system, then a HANA database into Rise. But once you are there, you're enjoying a longer maintenance cycle than you would in your own data center or in the data center of a hosting partner. So this is in a nutshell what Rise is about. But I think there's a lot more to talk about. So let's kick it off.
Yes, it was indeed a little bit more than a couple of words, but I think it should be clear enough for our listeners. SAP mentions that Rise is designed to help business transitions to S4HANA, the cloud-based ERP platform. But how does it facilitate this streamlined transition, Thorsten?
Yeah, this is true. So it is definitely an approach where you can put out this SAP system in other hands and really focus on your actual business. We see that the customers are really able to run that with a lot less people than they are running their SAP ERP system. So that's also very, very important for the business case. However, there is sometimes the misunderstanding that you don't need any people anymore. And that's definitely not true. No? So if you go to SAP Rise, you actually even different profiles than in the past. While in the past you had maybe people who were covering basis services, etc. This now you need actually more architect people who very well know what to order from SAP. You have the so-called enterprise cloud service organization, ECS organization, which is basically your main contact person. So all that is, on the one hand side, it helps you to make that transition. On the other hand side, it also requests from you that you very careful plan that. However, this transition is not that straightforward. But once you are on Rise and you manage to get there, all works actually very well. I see very successful and very happy customers that are operating their SAP system on the Rise environment. But the way there is quite challenging. But of course, with people like the experts from PwC, you can learn from experiences from the past and from very senior experts that can support you in that journey.
Yes. Another question, is Rise flexible enough to meet unique business requirements of different industries? Because not every customer is the same.
Yeah, there is one element which is not very well known, which is very important to start off that discussion. There are actually two different ways of engaging Rise. You have, on the one hand side, the default option, which is a packaged way. What does that mean? You have basically systems in t-shirt sizes, small, medium, large, very large, also very small. And many customers think that they have to fit in one of these t-shirt sizes. The problem with that is, if you have one of the parameters that you are exceeding, you are automatically going to the next higher t-shirt size. And the truth is, there is a well hidden secret that there is also another way of going on Rise in so-called tailored option. This is if you speak to your SAP counterpart and you are in the need and in that situation, ask them for the so-called tailored option, which really is an option where you can define quite well each of the parameters. So if you know that, you can already say Rise is quite flexible. However, Rise also comes with a number of constraints, which also actually makes sense, because SAP needs to ensure that they can run in an industrialized way the SAP systems of all kinds of customers, and that they don't allow every single additional technology that a customer can come up with. So this also means, of course, that SAP has a much more elaborated governance model that they can apply, simply because they have some prerequisites that the systems need to fulfill. To be honest, the flexibility many customers allow within an SAP solution comes with quite a high cost to support whatever is asked by the internal stakeholders. To put the other way around, if business can always decide what they want from the SAP solution, this just comes with a pretty high price tag. And I'm actually quite happy that SAP Rise is there, a bit constraining and giving a bit of a guardrails, what is possible and what is not possible. So we can think of a more standardized way how to set up SAP systems.
Okay, thank you, Thorsten, for a very insightful information again. We also had some recent projects on Rise. Maybe you can tell the listeners some challenges we have faced, lessons learned. I mean, last episode we already discussed our successful projects we had, but we also had episode 7 and 8 where we had a lot of lessons learned. And for who is interested, you can always check them again. But for now, any lessons particular for Rise maybe that we can discuss in this episode?
Yes, sure. So on the one hand side, the transition itself, going to Rise is a separate project. And this starts with a very good assessment. One, is Rise the right solution for you? We, in the meantime, offer there also quite a standardized service where we go over the different aspects, where we check the license models, where we check also what kind of technologies do you use and how much effort is it for you to get there. I give an example. Technologies like async, used by many customers today in on-premise environments or data center environments, are not allowed by the Rise organization, by the SAP Rise model. So all these assessments are important to start it off and to plan the transition to Rise as a separate project. So also I would absolutely suggest to do some test migrations. Going there without doing a test is actually quite a risky endeavor. So until you have a test migration that really runs well, I would not go into a go live, into a final transformation towards the Rise organization. Also important, you need to get used on working with this ECS organization that I mentioned before. ECS stands for Enterprise Cloud Services. It is an organization which basically handles your system now in the future once you are on Rise, and it is your absolute contact point when doing whatever you want to achieve, for example, upgrades, etc. So when I come, for example, to upgrades, this is something you need to plan yourself. The actual doing is done by ECS, by the ECS organization. But here you see already you need people in your organization that have an understanding which services to request from SAP. Maybe another challenge, I mentioned it already, when you use technologies that are not allowed anymore on the Rise, you need to find a good way of replacing them beforehand, because otherwise they really cause a big impediment once going into the transition itself. So that also needs to be well planned, these replacements. But also understanding how to manage in the best way the data space. You will encounter very quickly that data in the Rise environment is a very costly element, and therefore it is in your own interest to restrict the database size as much as possible. Archiving becomes a very important element. Otherwise, system size is growing and is at the end adding a lot to the cost tag, to the price tag that you will need to pay on a continuous basis. And of course, also important to know, it's not only the productive system that needs to be correctly sized. You also need to have the quality assurance, the test systems correctly sized, because these are usually copies of the productive systems. And so this comes with a price tag on multiple sides, on multiple ends, and hence even more important that you are thinking a bit differently and that you're planning not only the transition, as I mentioned, but also how you will run your organization, how you will manage the SAP system differently than you did in the past, where it might not have been that costly to have a couple of gigabyte more in the system or not. That, in a nutshell, I think are some of the biggest challenges to focus on. Also here, similar to our last episode, it is important that you are doing this transition with people who have done that before, who really can judge certain situations, replacements of technologies, who know how to work with the ECS organization, because otherwise you are all discovering that on your own the first time, and then it becomes a bit of a cumbersome journey. But that in a nutshell would be the challenges that I see, Faisal.
Yes, indeed. I think that's it in terms of Rise, Torsten.
I guess so. This is a good start. And of course, we are very curious to hear what questions you have. And then we are more than happy also to deep dive into these specific questions, which I believe every customer has different ones. So definitely the floor is yours when it comes to sending us your questions.
Indeed. Always happy to hear feedback and questions from our listeners. If you are interested in next episodes, subscribe and share it with your network. And let's call it an episode.
Absolutely, Faisal. Faisal, thanks a lot for hosting that. And then very much looking forward to our next one. Take care, everyone.
Likewise. Bye-bye.